We have seen AMD stock soaring to new highs lately. As of now, the stock price is $543 and the market cap is closing in on $900 billion. This is not a small stock anymore. It's one of the hottest stock in the market, and it feels like every day we're pushing through new records. So today we need to break down what has changed regarding the narrative of AMD the latest year and especially the latest couple of months. Why is this stock smoking hot in the stock market? This is the question we need to answer right now. The absolute latest news we have is from Computex, just the latest 24 hours, and that's Supermicro that expands their offering. So basically, Supermicro is that type of company that make data centers possible. They are not creating all the parts, but they are taking in like GPUs and CPUs from NVIDIA, Intel, ARM, AMD, and they are making the parts, like assemble them and make it possible to deploy them very fast. And now they expand their rack scale AI leadership with AMD Helios platform, accelerating deployment and operational efficiency. And this basically means that the 455X rack scale Helios solutions that we have been talking on for a while, the groundbreaking new GPUs from AMD is getting massive backing from one of the most important assemblers out there, Supermicro. So this is huge news. This is directly from Computex in Taiwan, the 1st of June. And what they're saying is they are showcasing, or they did showcase, the next Helio rack scale platform. And they are calling it the DCBBS. Supermicro is redefining what is possible with data centers by shifting from traditional server design to complete rack scale architecture, and they are combining their DCBBS solutions with AMD Instinct's MI455X GPU architecture. So they are delivering unprecedented AI performance, improved power efficiency throughout advanced cooling and scalable infrastructure for the next generation AI workloads. And this is very important for AMD because the whole package here with these deployments is, compared to selling CPUs or GPUs, now they are selling the whole solutions and deploy it with a rack scale solution, meaning the amount of money they earn per deployment is much higher than what has been historically. So this is a huge opportunity for AMD. This is the first time they are going head to head with NVIDIA. And if this product is really competitive, this is a huge opportunity for AMD long term and can really make the price tag of the company, the $543 per share, be something that actually is quite small. So we still have the execution left, but seeing Supermicro just betting so hard on AMD and talking for a long time in the keynote speech here on Computex about the Helios rack scale, I feel like the hype around the 400 and MI 455X deployment is just getting higher and higher. And they're talking about the next era of AI and how they efficiently compute can be deployed, connected, and scaled. And therefore, they are using the AMD Helios to deliver an open rack scale architecture to bring together the leadership of AMD Compute and Supermicro. And I think they are also using, obviously, the software system ROCm that has improved fastly for AMD, and also, yeah, the type of things that Supermicro themselves deploy to bring this assembly together. So important news regarding AMD. This is why the stock has just continued to drive upwards, I would say, the last couple of days. We also got a clue from Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, why AMD's stock is soaring or has been performing very good lately. And obviously, it's not like he's making marketing for AMD, because AMD might be his biggest rival in terms of the company that do similar things as NVIDIA with rack scale system solutions and CPU, GPU deployments with the integrated interconnectivity solutions in one offering. But what he says is compute now is real revenue, and it's directly driving increased margins for businesses, and that is a very good thing for companies like AMD, Nvidia, Broadcom, etc. And obviously, more AI usage means more tokens and more revenue. And this means also the companies want more compute, because the compute obviously drives revenue. So that's the first key. He also talking about the AI factories is the future, and it's not just GPUs anymore. The first talk of Nvidia and why they got so high market cap was that it was all about the GPUs, the black whale, etc. Now the focus is more on AI factories, and that means the servers, networking, and the rack scales, the GPU, CPU together. And in this, obviously, the networking has become a bottleneck, very important. That is why I made a video a couple of months back about Marvel Technology being my latest stock that I was saying this stock is something really special for the future. Since that, we see Marvel Technologies up 250%. Jensen Huang was talking about Marvel in his keynote speech here at Computex, that this might be the next trillion-dollar company. So you see how important the clusters is in the modern AI, and this is also a good thing for AMD, that compute gets more dense and more complexity, meaning their expertise gets more attractive in the marketplace. And also this new AI factories and AI agentic future, everyone is talking about AI agents, is really, really bullish, both for obviously NVIDIA, but especially for AMD, because AI is now evolving from chatbots to more of an AI agent that can take control over your personal computer and do tasks all day, every day. And you can deploy loads of agents to support like whole companies. So it doesn't matter if it's Microsoft, Salesforce, ServiceNow, or Perplexity, or whatever. All companies are just working night and day to get the AI agents going. And this is the latest shift. They write codes, they execute tasks per automatic. So this means that you need something to orchestrate the AI agents. So it's not just GPUs anymore, it's the AI brain. So there is a lot of talk about the CPUs lately in the marketplace. That is why you have seen Intel stock go good. You have seen ARM. ARM architecture is the architecture that builds the Graviton CPUs for the AWS in Amazon, and you have also ARM in Google's architecture. You have ARM in the MI chips from Apple in their computers, and now they have the Vera chip that Nvidia is doing with ARM-based processors also. So the CPUs are getting so important. And on the other hand, you have ARM as an architecture, very energy efficient. But for AMD, this is very bullish because they have a protocol called an ISA, and that is how you shape your brain, your CPU. And they have something called x86, the same as Intel. So they are the only companies that use x86. And knowing that CPU is so important for AI in the future with this AI agentic shift, obviously companies like Nvidia and ARM and the companies that use ARM will say that ARM is the future. But knowing how the ISA protocols really works, I would say that I'm very bullish on the x86 protocol and the CPUs that AMD is providing for the market. And we have seen this in the latest quarterly report from AMD, how much they are ramping the CPUs and getting a lot of traction from customers on their CPU solutions. So that is one of the things that have really turned the spotlight on AMD lately in the stock market. So both that they are ramping up the MI455X GPU and rack scale Helios solutions. That was the first thing, the deal with OpenAI and the deal with Meta, and they have deployed these things with HPE, with Oracle, etc. But now also the focus on CPUs, and for a while AMD has been the company with the best CPUs in the markets, and now we have Intel trying to grab back the market share that AMD has taken from them, but also we have the ARM architecture that taking some other parts of the inference, etc., saying that they are more energy efficient than maybe what AMD provides. But the thing with AMD solutions is that x86, it is better to getting that if you have tasks that the AI agents are doing that require a lot of processing power and high peaks of intelligence, you need the x86 architecture to perform that type of tasks. Also, the latest 30 years, the CPU architectures and programs, because Intel has for a long time worked close with the industry to improve and make like the whole internet and infrastructure work is built on the x86 infrastructure, meaning that both Intel and AMD has a huge opportunity now because the AI agents, they will roam freely around old and new documents and code, old code, new code, and they need to be useful. So they need a brain, a CPU that is able to make use of them. So it's not just about energy efficiency; it's also about making these agents useful and make them complete task in a way that is useful for the companies. And there, I think AMD is on point with their solutions regarding their CPUs, and they are also riding on, I would say, changing a bit of the x86 ISA code to make it more adaptive to the AI agentic future. So I think this is a really a tailwind for AMD and also for Intel. We have seen that the CPU is actually very, very, very important for the future of data centers for AI agents. And this is, I think, why AMD stock has really soared. It's not just that they have entered the GPU market. Their main product, the CPU, the future, I think it's called Venice, the CPU called Venice, are really on the edge, the best one out there, and this is very, very, very bullish for AMD. This is what I meant with AMD and their CPUs and why they are the leaders in the marketplace. So basically, this is a news from the 20th of May this year. So very up to date news about AMD announces production ramp of the next generation AMD EPYC processors Venice on TSMC's 2 nanometers process technology. And why is this special? And why should you know that using the time of this video? Well, basically, Venice is the first a HPC product in the industry to achieve production ramp on TSMC's advanced 2 nanometers technology. So they are best in class using this technology. And why is that important? Well, they can use more um, density and nodes and process technology in a single chip, making that chip faster, more energy efficient, and basically higher performance. So the milestone is basically an execution of the AMD data center CPU roadmap. I did see that they announced this actually the spring of 2025. To see them execute on the roadmap is very impressive. And well, Venice is the first high performance computing HPC product in the industry to basically enter this technology. And as AI and agentic workloads scale rapidly, as I talked about you in the last segment, customers need platforms that can move from innovation to production faster. And their deep partnership with TSMC is helping AMD to bring leadership compute technologies to market. And basically, when AI adoption expands from training and inference to increasingly complex agentic workloads, AI agents, the new buzzword out there, the CPU is becoming even more critical to scaling AI infrastructure. CPUs is the new deal. That is one of the reasons why AMD stock is going so good and why I'm still very, very bullish on AMD, because they are so good to innovate in this space. And they have that x86 architecture and ISA that I love. It's coordinating data movement, networking, storage, security, system orchestration across the data centers. So you will hear NVIDIA say they are the best on this. The NVIDIA will probably say ARM is the best on this, because they won't say that x86 architecture is the best on this, because that is basically what AMD and Intel has. And why should they say that their opponent has the best solutions? Because ARM is quite good also. By pairing the next EPYC processors with advanced manufacturing capacity across the globe, AMD is expanding the foundation needed to support customers as they deploy this. And yeah, basically these EPYC processors, which they are called, they have sold very, very good for AMD for some time now. And having Venice here first on the 2nd nanometers, I think it will be massive for AMD, and they will gain probably also some pricing power, because when CPUs get more important, and when Nvidia basically are ramping their CPUs efforts now and entering the race, they will also try to keep their gross margins high, meaning they will have quite high prices on their CPUs, and maybe that will give a leader like AMD some pricing power regarding the CPUs. So that is also very bullish news. So they are saying that they are very pleased to see AMD continue to make strong progress with the next generation EPYC processors. Uh, um, are they saying from TCMC, and the close collaboration with AMD reflects the importance of pairing leadership. And also, I would say it's very bullish that AMD has so close relationship with TCMC. The most important manufacturing of modern chips in the world is the Taiwanese mega company, and basically getting the wafer, getting manufacturing there secured is extremely important, and that is actually a lot of companies that can't ramp up their products the same way that AMD can, because AMD has such a good relationship with them. Also, the partnership spans the technologies needed to scale the modern data centers computing, etc., with the packaging technologies, including TCMC's technologies and AMD's broader AI and data center portfolio. With Venice ramping on this TMC's second nanometers products, AMD is advancing the CPU foundation for AI infrastructure by continuing the leverage of TCMC's process and packaging leadership. So this is so important news for AMD, and it brings me a lot of peace and as a long-term investor. All right, so some of the highlights from their latest quarterly results was that they expanded the offerings of the GPUs, next generation EPYC CPUs, codename Venice and Verano. And basically, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and Tencent announced new and expanded fifth generation EPYC powered cloud instances, including Google Cloud and Azure instances. So all of the big dogs, all of the hyperscalers just need the CPUs from an AMD, and this is why the marketplace reward AMD so heavily. They are both having a massively insanely good position in the CPU market, and also providing the GPUs that are selling like hot butter. And you can also see that they are collaborating with Samsung now to the next generation AI memory and compute technologies. As you know, as every one of you know, the DRAM situation and the memory situation is extreme in the market with high prices, and is almost impossible to find a wafer, find memory for companies. And for AMD to secure the collaboration with Samsung with AI memory and compute technologies, including HBM4 supply, and yeah, this is like the most important thing. And having this secure for AMD's MI455X CPUs and advanced RAM solutions for sixth generation AMD EPYC CPUs are the foundation to continue to build and keep the gross margins high. So when I read the news with AMD and Samsung, I felt wow, good job, Lisa Su. This is exactly what we need to have the long-term collaboration with the most important customers out there, because it's just SK Hynix, we have Micron, and we have Samsung. These are the only three companies that provide memory chips, and there are a lot of customers and consumers that want to a piece of Samsung, of Micron, etc. And for AMD to be a prime customer and having that strategic collaboration with Samsung is massive. And yeah, good job. Also, they are talking about the Ryzen computers and some outlook. So basically, for the next quarter, we see 11.2 billion. So if you would have that for like, often I like use that metric and then multiply it with 4 quarters, that would be almost $45 billion in a year. And then we continue to have some ramp on the growth. So think about $50 billion, and then you add um, the market cap on that. We will have a price per sales around 17 to 18. So that is not strange if we continue to grow like we do here. But we know that the growth will actually ramp the second half of this year, because they will have gigawatt deployments, both for OpenAI with the collaboration they have there, and also for the Meta. And almost like we almost forget how much the revenue will ramp the second part of this year, and continuing to have the CPU boom with the ramp of the GPU Helios Rack Scale Solutions MI455X, and add that they are selling the MI455X Helios via Supermicro now, the latest new, and add the collaboration here with Oracle, with HPE, and um, other instances, like for example with South Korea, with France, I could see this company reach 70, 80, 90 billion dollars 2027. And if they do that and have that kind of ramp in revenue, I could see the price through sales metrics increase maybe to 20, um, getting closer to what we have seen Nvidia has for a couple of years. So if we have $90 billion in revenue and we have that 20x in price through sales, I could see this market cap double in 1 to 2 years. But this is just speculation, and it depends on how the macro environment and the AI hype continues. But I would say AMD is not a stock that is just, oh, it's just being pumped by Wall Street and institutional investors. This is some real numbers backing up the market cap at the moment. And because the market cap for AMD was sideways for so many years, now when it's up like 400% in quite short time, they still have a quite decent valuation, not overly high, I would say, even though we are closing in on $900 billion. And especially if you can have your eyes long term here, you can see the company really growing into the valuation and expanding that market cap over time. And that is why I'm not selling any AMD at the moment, despite the stock being up so much. Obviously, if you are an investor, sometimes you need to rebalance your portfolio. If you have quite a big part of your portfolio in a company that really increase their market cap fast, you might need to sell some, and just depending on how you want to build your portfolio. But in the end of the day, you can never be sure what the stock market do or what happened with the company. So you always have to do your own due diligence. This is just my analyze of the situation and of the AMD situation long term. So yeah. Anyway, that's that. Thank you for tuning in today, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.